Alright, here is the story of how I beat Factorio while giving the BITERS a small head start. We are playing a map on completely default settings with a tiny mod. The BITERS start off at 100% evolution, meaning we have behemoth BITERS from the start, as well as brutal BITER expansion with a new enemy nest popping up every 4 minutes sharp, right from the game start. We tried to counteract BITER expansion by littering pipes everywhere, which got off the ground pretty slowly due to our other goal of reaching all achievements, including Lazy Bastard, which basically disallows any handcrafting at all. We then made a hard beeline for the car to explore a giant amount of land, to lull the BITERS into expanding somewhere else than towards my base. This is very important because we cannot defeat or even defend against even a single behemoth BITER until we unlock military signs and some pretty expensive ammo damage upgrades. Until we reach that point, the behemoth BITER's strong armor and fast healing makes it effectively invincible. So we needed to get pretty far into the game without triggering a single behemoth BITER attack by polluting their nests, so we went for a very strange base concept. The opposite of the usual "the factory must grow" mantra. In this playthrough, the factory must stay steady, outputting a controlled amount of pollution which could be reliably absorbed by the surrounding forest before reaching the BITERS. So, in order to produce a small but constant amount of resources and the accompanying pollution, we opted to keep production going at all times by slowly but steadily collecting plates in vast amount of chests while we are out doing stuff. And upon returning to the base, spent all the stocked up plates in quick production bursts in our special automated hand feeding assembly area, quickly consuming and producing controlled amount of science packs and supplies by consuming iron and copper plates by the chestful. Well, after 5 hours of doing the pollution dance, we finally reached ammo damage upgrade 4 and we could go on the offense. Not an easy task with only basic armor and low level gun turrets.
Who is after me? Oi, oi, oi.
Especially when there are ultra long range and highly dangerous behemoth worms in the mix.
No. And see what happens. And I'm dead.
To counteract the danger, we snuck behind enemy lines to the oil fields, taking with us enough supplies to make efficiency modules and a modular armor with energy shields right there on the oil fields. With the shields we could survive a few bitten off limbs here and there, but there is still no way to defend against the economic damage, as taking out the beefy behemoth BITERS comes with an astronomical resource cost. We've had to spend tens of thousands of plates to make sufficient red ammo just to take out a handful of nearby small nests. But there's also positive news. With the power of modules unlocked, we put productivity modules in the labs to reduce research costs, and after many hours of doing the pollution dance by switching production on and off, we can finally put efficiency modules in our miners, significantly reducing their pollution output so that we can keep producing a steady flow of resources non-stop from this point on. And we severely need that uninterrupted resource production, because we have meanwhile spent half of the 15-hour time limit to launch a rocket, and we haven't even got blue signs set up yet. But by producing some batches of red chips and sulfur on site at our oil outpost, we can finally research the first few blue technologies towards unlocking personal construction bots while setting up advanced oil processing at the base.
And we are making advanced oil. Nice.
Meanwhile though, the copper outpost site we set our eyes on is getting more and more swarmed in BITER expansions, and we need to make a difficult decision. Do we spend tens of thousands of copper and heaps of time on trying to clear them out? Or do we give up on the outpost idea, be very frugal with our copper spending and hope that we have enough copper in our starter mine to finish the game? After some hopeful calculations, I decide to give up on the outpost and stick with only the starter copper patch. It's gonna be very close, but we have a few aces up our sleeve to increase the odds of success. First, we beeline the mining productivity tech, which should make our copper patch yield 10% extra ore. But the copper may now be in the ground, we still need to get it out of the ground at a fast enough rate. So indeed, the other problem is the rate of copper extraction. The late game science packs and rocket construction are quite copper heavy, and while we may not need much copper at the moment, we need to start extracting it at the maximum rate possible and stash it for later use. So, with a hard limit on the amount of copper we can produce, we need to be very frugal with spending copper on other things. So, we will hopefully have to take out only 5 more biter bases for the rest of the game. These 2 because, well, we're polluting them, and these 3 which are blocking the iron patch. All other biter bases will stay on the map, even these biters which are nerve-wrackingly close to my only available oil source. After doing the calculations for the copper patch, which included figuring out how many science packs of each type we need to finish the game, we decide not to build what's generally known as a real base, but instead stick with our strange base concept of hand-feeding assemblers by the chests full until the bitter-sweet end. Now, I wouldn't recommend this playstyle for any normal type of game, but it just so happens to be perfect for this game for a few reasons. First, due to the threat of pollution-triggered behemoth biter attacks on the base, we simply cannot increase production over time, and our efficient hand-feeding setup is capable of a far higher resource consumption than the limited production we can achieve. And second, by deciding to go for our copper gambit, we must waste as few resources as possible. Now, in a normal base, it is unavoidable that tens of thousands of plates worth of produced but ultimately unneeded items are laying around across thousands of belts, and that's even before taking into account any additional resources stuck in chest buffers around the base. Now, this base doesn't have any of those belts or chest buffers, and we can convert the exact amount of iron and copper plates into the exact amount of stuff we need every single time, without any accidental or unavoidable overproduction. To demonstrate, first we produce all remaining red and green science packs we will need for the rest of the game. 4,000 of each, requiring 30,000 iron and 10,000 copper, which we then process neatly and precisely into the exact 4,000 belts, 4,000 inserters, 4,000 iron gears and 4,000 copper plates we need for the 4,000 red and green science packs. Not a single plate was wasted in the process. Now, that doesn't mean we have to stick to producing everything by hand though, but instead of allowing limitless resource access, we can limit the input by supplying specific amounts of resources to individual setups. For example, this green chip block. And our red chip setup here in the north. Red chips, by the way, are the hardest to work out, as they are used in a ton of different products, and if we accidentally overproduce those, an iron chest full of red chips costs a whopping 32,000 copper, so that would probably mean game over. Anyway, after making sure that research keeps on going, we finally get around to oil cracking and prepare the stuff we need for personal bots. In fact, why don't we just immediately make all of the 800 electric engines we need for the rest of the game in this temporary setup?
Anyway, it's all temporary. The whole game is a temporary setup to get to the rocket, after which we are going to build a normal base to get the rest of the achievements.
400 for yellow signs, 200 for the rocket silo, and 200 for personal use, which means the power armor, exoskeletons and personal bots. Nice! By the same principle, we reserve space for the last 800 raw sulfur needed for blue signs, and we reserve half a chest of copper and iron to mass produce all of the batteries we will need for the entire game. We also need some early blue chips for our power armor, so we prepare our endgame blue chip setup. We won't start it up just yet though, for now we just make exactly enough for the power armor and some exoskeletons. A neat trick we have been doing at the copper mine is storing up any copper ore overproduction in excess of a yellow belt of copper into chests. At the moment, we are producing slightly more than a yellow belt of ore, but as the game progresses, this mine will dry up and production will fall below a yellow belt. When that inevitably happens, we can feed out the current overproduction by sideloading it onto the main copper ore belt, keeping the miners prioritized and producing at all times. Meanwhile, our power armor is ready, and with the exoskeletons we are finally able to speed across the base.
Let's look at this. Yes, baby! Oh, this always feels so good.
Our increased speed will also come in handy when running for our lives in combat. And soon after, we unlock our much desired personal construction bots. Now, not to build the base, as we aren't building one, but they will be extremely useful to build the walls and gun turrets before combat, and for the messy cleanup after the takedowns. Constructing, repairing and deconstructing our fallback point and turret defense was costing us a lot of time before. I tried postponing our inevitable attacks until this point, after we unlocked personal construction bots, and man, does it pay off.
And I just start to fill them with ammo already. Yeah, this damn night. I might switch off the robots. Let's put some selection turrets in here. Let's go. Oh, I forgot to change out my armor stuff. Oh, I'm here right around to me, so let's clear. Oh, I'm dead. No, I'm not. But I need to retreat. Go around again, the other side. Try again. A lot of gun turrets go past everything close by. So they focus the nests. That behemoth biter is definitely not focusing the nest. I'm stuck in the forest. Let me out. Okay.
The combat itself though is still quite hard and dangerous.
Is everything dead? It looks like everything is dead. Holy moly. I thought it would be easy now we have power armor. Well, apparently not.
Anyway, while we select the last 6 technologies we need to be able to launch a rocket and finish the game.
Rocket control unit, productivity module, speed module and then the rocket silo itself. And that is all the techs we'll need before being able to finish the game.
we take out the other polluted biter base and the 3 biter bases protecting the iron ore patch. And 11 hours in, with just 4 hours remaining on the clock, we can finally access our glorious new iron patch, extracting 2 full yellow belts of iron for the rest of the game. Of those 2 belts of iron, we dedicate 1 full belt to steel, as we will need a lot of steel to make the 1600 purple science packs we need. But by this time, our home copper mine is starting to struggle and is unable to keep the furnaces supplied. So it is time to start feeding out our earlier overproduction, trying to keep our full belt of copper plate production going for as long as we possibly can. And with all business outside the base being taken care of, we can start to prepare for the late game science packs and the building of the rocket itself. With a stable pollution situation, no attacks or other interruptions are expected anymore, and everything becomes a numbers game from here on out. While we wait for the steel to produce for purple science, we start preparing for yellow science. We need 1300 yellow science packs, but as we will use productivity module 2s, we can get away with producing 1200 science packs worth of ingredients. This means we need 400 robot frames, 800 blue chips and 1200 low density structures. However, we roughly need an additional 1200 blue chips and 800 low density structures for the rocket and whatnot. So in total we need 2000 blue chips and 2000 low density structures. Well, that's gonna cost us an immense amount of resources, which we don't all have in stock yet. So to easily keep track of things, we decide to produce those in 2 batches. The first batch of 1000 blue chips needs a whopping 20,000 green chips and 200 red chips. This equates to 40,000 copper and 24,000 iron. And that's only half of the blue chips we will need. And that's only for the blue chips. We will still need low density structures, robot frames, rocket control units and so on. Anyway, we finally use our bots to build actual parts of the base, as we start to produce the first batch of 1000 low density structures. There goes another 20,000 copper, and suddenly all our stocked resources are spent.
Take all the plastics.
Meanwhile, we already saved up the full 10,000 plastics we need for low density structures, as well as the 100,000 light oil we need to make the 720 rocket fuel we need.
So this is 100k light oil in the system, which should be enough according to my rough calculation. Alright. So for the rocket silo we want 4 productivity module 3s, but the productivity module 3s themselves require 5 productivity module 2s each. So we need 20 productivity module 2s, and we can use those module 2s to make the yellow and purple signs before we change them into the productivity module 3 for the rocket silo. So that way we can get away with, we can basically get the most out of these 4 productivity module 3s we have to make.
All of the red, green and blue signs meanwhile has been produced and distributed to the labs, and we can move on to yellow and purple signs.
We're going to make 1500, and by the same logic that's going to be more than enough to research 1600 science packs worth of research. So 1200 and 1500. That's why I have 4 and 5 assemblers here. Okay, so let's collect our robot frames. And let's see how many blue chips we already have. Alright. So this is half of the blue chips. And it's all of the robot frames. Let's just do the quarter stacking thing.
And with only 3 hours left on the clock, we are starting to produce the first half of the yellow science bags.
How's it going with the chests? Yeah, we are using this up pretty quickly now.
Now that yellow science is producing, we can move on to making ingredients for purple science, starting with
furnaces, they are the easiest. Alright, so we need 500 furnaces, which means 5000 steel, 5000 stone bricks and 2500 advanced circuits. So basically a full chest plus 2 stacks, that does the trick. I wonder if we have the 5000 steel already though. Okay, that is 5000 stone bricks. Do we have 5000 steel? Yes, we do. Oh, produce 1000 units per hour. Exactly, I guess. That means they are finished. We just produced 1000 blue chips per hour, I guess. For 1 hour. Okay, so just 1 stack we insert in here, and then exactly a full chest will make all of the other furnaces we need for science. Then we just need to add 2500. Red chips to the middle one, and that will do the trick. Right, then productivity modules. We need another 2500 red chips for productivity modules, which means 25 assemblers. Let's do 25. So that's 10, 20, 25. And 2500 green chips. That is all the productivity modules we will need for purple science. Not bad.
We set up this neat assembler setup to make 16,000 rails. This is exactly 5 chests of rails out of 5 chests of stone and 5 half chests of steel, with some iron sticks sprinkled in from the south, which means we can soon start producing purple science as well.
500 of them, perfect.
And with that, all of the infrastructure we need has been set up.
Let's insert the first batch.
So now we just need to keep machining our copper and iron into the proper stuff we need to make the remaining stuff we need, like the second batch of blue chips and low density structures.
And I guess we can just transfer the rail chest by chest, since we have 5 rail producers and 5 purple science assemblers. That should be pretty balanced. Then I guess this is approximately enough green chips. How much copper we still have? How much copper is still in the mine? 20k. Alright. These chests are now empty, so our production has really slowed down, as you can see. It's like barely a third of a belt.
The extra copper ore chests meanwhile have run out and...
Empty, empty, empty. All of this is empty.
Production has truly dropped to an abysmal level.
So what do we have then?
To optimize copper extraction, we rebuilt the copper mine to fit as many miners on the remaining ore center as possible.
Better, yeah, 8 and 5 instead of 10 and... yeah, that's better. That is the remainder of the blue chips. We don't need any more blue chips. And we need another 10,000 copper in here, I guess. Maybe we have that already. I think we do. Yeah, we do. Okay. Pretty good. Holy moly. How much copper we have left? Nothing. Not even a chest.
But that was all the copper we need. We literally have exactly enough copper available now. With that, there is not much left to do. We use our set-aside red and green chips to make the 720 speed modules required for the rocket control units.
Actually, let's make a few speed modules more for beacons and maybe the miner and whatnot. 20 more or something.
Make the 1000 concrete for the rocket silo. Combine the speed modules with the blue chips to make the 720 rocket control units and start to set up the rocket silo area.
And then we need a fish to send into space. Ben the fish. Okay, let's get him out of there. Ben the fish in the chest. Here you go.
The rocket fuel is already done.
So the first ingredient for the rocket. Check.
As are the low density structures.
And that's going to be pretty tricky. Is to not craft the rocket silo by hand. Because then I will lose the game. Since it's only after the rocket launch where we can afford to handcraft again.
Now we are just waiting for the rocket control units to complete. But actually even more, we are waiting for the rocket silo technology to complete.
Okay, let's collect the red and blue chips for the 4 productivity module Mark IIIs. As soon as these science assemblies are done, we can grab these and turn them into the Mark IIIs.
I figure we have enough extra purple science to squeeze in the cheap beacons technology, which can drastically speed up the last science production as well as the rocket construction itself. And once we acquire said beacons, we can speed up the last science pack production.
Alright, 1.05 on all of them.
We also already collected all the materials we need for the rocket silo into a chest.
This is basically the rocket silo.
And indeed, all of the rocket control units are done as well.
That should be all.
Which means all the required stuff to build the rocket is already sitting in chests next to the silo site.
Yep, exactly right.
So we have some time to kill while purple science production completes. So we start up the production of ammo again and preparation of dealing with the BITERS post-launch. We still have a long way to go to complete all achievements.
Okay, one more cycle. Full chest of steel. And then 5 full chests of copper. We still don't have 5 full chests of copper. That is how thin we have been running. All of our copper is gone. Our copper production has slowed down to a trickle.
Soon though, all science packs are done. And we can upgrade the 20 productivity module 2s we used to produce the expensive yellow and purple science packs into 4 productivity module 3s for the rocket silo. With that little tactic, we have truly extracted the maximum value out of the 4 productivity module 3s we needed to produce for the rocket silo anyway. And eventually, the final technology completes.
99%. And it's done. Nice. Okay, let's grab these beacons. Grab this, not crafted by hand. Go to the assembler. Rocket silo. Two hours on the clock. All we need to do is produce the rocket, for which we have all the ingredients already. Let's insert the modules, plop down power, and here we go. Then we can speed it up a little bit with beacons. We auto launch with cargo, and that's it. That's it. I didn't think we would do it. After the rocket has launched, we still have a challenge to go, as we will need to claim the copper and we will need to build a real base. There goes Ben the fish up into space. Very cinematically, I missed the moment like a true professional. Anyway, here goes the rocket. up into space. 13 hours and 7 minutes into the game. We did it. Holy moly, that's a lot of achievements. Nice.
Half of the achievements are done. Half of the achievements are yet to go. But can we still do it? While the game may say we have won the game by launching a rocket, that doesn't actually provide us with anything new or special we can use to aid us in our fight against the BITERS. Military-wise, we are basically still stuck in the early blue science era, and for the last 8 hours or so, we have spent all of our resources beelining the useless rocket, instead of, say, researching anything useful military technologies or upgrades. Well, it's a meager consolation that at least the BITERS haven't been evolving further either. I guess that's one of the advantages of just having maximum BITER evolution from the very start of the game. I don't know, I'm confused. Well, anyways, we may still be doomed after all. Find out in the new post-launch series, where we try to continue on this map to achieve all that can be achieved. Or die trying. Next time. The rest of the series is going to be fully edited with highlighted gameplay in my usual style. I hope you enjoy.
Anyway, here goes the rocket up into space.
Okay, so we just launched the rocket in 13 hours, which got us a whole screen full of new achievements, including the last of the time-pressured ones. While there are still some pretty tough achievements to beat, at least we can take as much time as we need to complete them. However, we won't be thinking about any achievements for a while. We are still in quite a pickle as we spent nearly all our copper getting to the rocket, with no backup plan to gain control over a new copper source. So the first goal we have is to turn any remaining copper into red ammo in order to clear the behemoth biter bases around the copper mine. We finish up the batch we were producing just before the rocket launch, which gets us to just over 3k ammo. But after scrounging all the scraps together while we were reclaiming all the efficiency modules around the base and prepared other required stuff for our copper mine expansion, like a ton of belts, we got almost 4k ammo to work with. With a historic average spending of around 500 ammo per biter expansion, let's see how far it will bring us. I put down 2 extra columns of turrets for this one, as this nest on the copper looks particularly scary. There is at least 10 fully armored behemoth biters spawning around, and on top of the regular spawns, there's the extra early game expansion group who refuse to expand. And even though we beat the game by launching a rocket, that doesn't bring us any extra offensive capabilities. We are still stuck with the same outdated stuff as last time. Again, we try to draw out the biters in small groups, and while the gun turrets do only 8 damage per bullet to the 3000 hit point behemoths, with a whopping 60 gun turrets firing simultaneously, we are outputting over 5000 DPS, allowing us to take down even small groups of behemoth biters simultaneously. Okay, let's draw in that activist non-expanding expansion group and look at the speed difference between the behemoth biters and the lagging behind spitters. Okay, we go in for the kill. I mess up the visuals with my free-scrolling scroll wheel, but manage to place the gun turrets regardless. Oh no, a behemoth worm almost takes me out, while a single behemoth biter distracts all my turrets for a good while, keeping the nests and worms alive. Here you can really see just how sturdy those guys are if they are up against a more normal amount of turrets. We slowly chip away at the nest and the worms until there's nothing left but the lingering smell of rotten worm bread and scorched pink flesh. We did it, the toughest battle so far, and it took us almost 800 magazines. Well, no rest for the wicked. We make a 180-degree turn and lure the enemies from the much softer nest in the west. But man, my fallback point is just too far away for this nest. So we just storm in and absolutely go bonkers with dropping gun turrets left, right, over, under, on top of each other. We lose a lot of gun turrets here, but I'm fine with that. That's what they're there for. Biters jumping on gun turrets are not jumping on me. Anyway, these guys went down with a cost of like 200 magazines, so I guess we met our average of 500 magazines per nest then. When the bots are slowly placing the expansion protection pipes, I realize I have a little bit of extra science left. And I can probably get bot speed 3, which will be a significant reduction in boringness when placing pipes and the walled gun turret blueprints, so let's go for that. Why didn't I realize this earlier? Now, since all the other nests are marginally further away, and since the northern edge of the copper patch is in a very forested chunk, I think I may just be able to get away with mining just a single yellow belt of copper from that northern edge, without angering the remaining nearby biters with the miners' pollution. And I managed to fit exactly 26 miners in only the forested chunk, which is exactly the amount we need for a full belt at this stage. And just as the home copper source is virtually fully depleted, a glorious new, full yellow belt of copper ore streams into my base. Well, that solved the urgent copper problem, but we still need to wait a bit to see the effect of the copper miners' local pollution. So we finally take the time to upgrade to the Personal Batteries Mark II. A very welcome quality of life upgrade, which will allow me to place pipes, walls and gun turrets without continuously worrying about the bot's battery level. We also repurposed our chest-fed green circuit setup to make 2 chests of red belts for the future real base. The 10 full chests of iron into gears will only make half of those though. Okay, some time has passed. Let's look at the copper mine pollution. Whoa, somehow it isn't spreading out at all. Let's flick on the pollution values and see what is going on. The chunk with the miners itself absorbs 11.10 pollution per minute, and any build-up pollution above the threshold of 15 gets spread equally to the 4 adjacent chunks, most of which are also heavily forested. Now, normally 26 miners output 260 pollution per minute, but with 3 efficiency modules per miner that drops to just 56 pollution per minute, which means these 5 chunks here almost fully neutralize a full yellow belt of copper production. And the best part is, pollution here will never build up to the threshold of 60, which is when trees start taking damage, which means this mine is sustainable for forever. Well, that was unexpected. Note that if we place the miners 1 chunk south though, pollution would easily start to seep out to the west. Placing the miners in the forested chunk really does make all the difference. So, with a reliable and steady stream of all resources incoming, I spent some time to make a truly gargantuan amount of red ammo. As well as red underground belts and red splitters to accompany the red belts we're making for the new base. In the process, I spent all of my stockpiled resources again, so you know what that means. We are going to go out and start claiming more land. With almost 10,000 red ammo in our backpack, we systematically start to take out any biter base in sight, starting with these 2 here. These are 2 of the easier bases to take out, the OG originally spawned nest without any behemoth worms. These are two of the easier bases to take out. The OG originally spawned nests without any behemoth worms, and it costs us less than a stack of ammo per base. The only resource of which we didn't claim a new patch as of yet is stone. Coal we already control, we just haven't started mining it yet. So next up we will clear this area, but there's likely more than meets the eye. This southwestern land here looks suspiciously empty, but I wouldn't be surprised to find several expansions here. Surprisingly, we find only one expansion here in the Fog of War, but it's good to know the updated lay of the lands. Take them out, we must. And apparently we took them out. Now don't be sad, I cannot show everything which will happen in the next 50 hours or so, and these were all easy fights. Let me show you some of the more interesting fights instead. Like this one, where I trigger the enemies before I put ammo in the turrets. Before almost dying to stupidly standing still in a behemoth worm acid puddle for too long. Man, winning all these fights is still not a given. Another hour later and 3000 red ammo later, we finally have claimed the necessary area we need for our new base, which we plan to build smack in the middle of the 4 resource patches, south of our rocket launching starter base. It is 3 hours after the rocket launch already, by the way, and the 15-hour time limit for the No Time for Chit Chat achievement has passed an hour ago already. This is why I stuck to my starter base concept. On this map, where we start off with 100% byte revolution, just about everything we need to do takes a painstakingly long amount of time. And that was time we just didn't have before. But now we do. So we finally take the opportunity to leisurely start designing and building a well planned out base. So let's put the attack stuff away for now. Before doing further combat, I would very much like to research some upgrades to reduce the risk of these attacks. We still have a lot of combat to do, and with these high risk attacks we've been doing, the odds will catch up to us. Now, I do want to keep most of our old base intact, but these haphazardly plopped down later elements of the base will have to go. I'm gonna need some space down here. And the first chest of red belts is done, so let's dump another 10 chests of iron into gears to make the second chest. So I lay out a new chunk-aligned furnace plan for the new base, trying to take as much advantage of the nearby pollution-scrubbing forests as plausible. I start making iron sticks for steel power poles, before remembering I went full minimalist style to reach the rocket, and we haven't even researched the darn things yet, as well as other basic early game techs like landfill. I estimate I have enough science left to research those, based on the method of just hoping really hard for it to be true, so let's start the research process. I then spent some of my last remaining red chips on making roboports to help build a new furnace area and base, while I keep utilizing my handy hand-feeding assembly area to make more miners and furnaces. I'll borrow out half of my personal bots to have them work on this furnace area, which consists of a whopping 2000 parts, while I go out to build more mining outposts. The first thing we do is double the iron production to 4 yellow belts, as almost all the building materials one needs to build a real base are made out of 90% iron on average. We are gonna need lots of it. And once we've built the belts back to the base, the 39 bots have already finished the full 2000 part furnace area. Good job, guys! We also expand to 2 belts of copper for now. My base will ultimately require 4, but we don't have enough efficiency modules in stock for more miners. Anyway, we won't need all that copper until we automate yellow and purple signs. The copper mine area has been cleansed of biters now, but we still need to keep an eye on the iron mine now that we have doubled the miners there again. Anyway, we try to save as much forest as possible by using underground belts to cross the jungle. And finally we have the new ore belts connected to the new furnace area. Now it's already more than 5 hours after the launch and we still don't have a base yet. Well, I wasn't planning on going through the hand feeding cycle to produce more red chips in this setup again, but here we are. I need more efficiency modules and I need them now. And finally we fixed this eyesore of a coal mine into a normal looking setup. Just kidding. To complete the resource flow to the new base, we rebuild the stone mine. But rather than building stone brick furnaces just yet, we will first feed out our earlier massive stone brick overproduction on a belt. And thus all the basic base ingredients have been prepared. It is time to switch it all on. And soon the resources start trickling onto the start of a new vertical main bus on the right, as well as flow into a new raw resource buffer chest area on the left. That means all the dormant miners are gonna wake up again and pollution will soon start to increase dramatically. And finally, 19 hours into the game and over 6 hours after launching the rocket, we finally have ourselves a normal base. It can still only produce the first 4 science packs though, but that's plenty for a while. We still have a whole bunch of red, green, military and blue text to get through. Finally, we can research whatever tech we want without thinking about it twice. There don't even exist any truly useless technologies, as one of the achievements we need to get simply requires us to research all technologies. Thus, we gotta research them all anyways. And with that, we conclude the first part of our post-rocket achievement hunting. We got exactly 0 achievements this session, but we did get what we set out to get. Access to all resources and finally a normal, fully automated base with giant buffer chests for all odds and ends, as we don't need to care anymore about how many of our precious resources get chewed up by those buffers. Life is good. See you in the next part, where we may actually start getting some achievements on this all achievement run. Ciao! Next time. Alright. We finally got ourselves a base, and that base will be busy with researching a whole backlog of technologies for a while. So, what is the next problem to tackle? Well, our coal mine is struggling to keep up with demand, as it needs to feed the power plant, the furnaces and the plastic. In fact, the first furnaces are starting to fail, so let's work on reducing our coal usage by switching to a cleaner power source. Now that we have launched the rocket and have gotten the Steam All The Way achievement, we are finally allowed to place solar panels. I am producing 1000 solar panels, which can supply the base with up to 60 megawatts during the day without any coal consumption. We are also making 800 poison capsules, which we may use on the more scarier of the biter bases out there. Now, poison doesn't harm the nests, but they can work great as a first strike to take out the dangerous behemoth worms. The solar panels are done, so let us get to work on placing them. And by us I mean the bots, of course, not me. I will be supervising. Yeah, great job guys, continue as you were. We won't go overboard on the expensive solar panels, as at some point we'll just switch to the cheap and clean nuclear power, but at the moment both the technology and the uranium patches are still quite far off. And pretty soon, enough solar panels are placed to shut down the steam engines completely. Well, until night falls, that is. We don't have accumulators just yet. But as Northeast seems to orbit around a double star or something, it is daytime here like 70% of the time, all of the time. So even without accumulators, the solar panels will be a great overall coal and pollution saver. And soon we have the full 60 megawatts 1000 panel solar field setup, which will now take care of at least 3/4 of our electricity production. Let's celebrate that by upgrading our personal armor with the Mark II shields. Oh yes! These shields have thrice the hit points of our old Mark I shields, which hopefully means that future combat will be a whole lot less exciting. Yeah, sucks to be you, viewer, but I've had enough of close call combat and I want to progress to the being OPSF stage of the game ASAP. And yes, we are going to test out these bad boys right now, together with our Mark II batteries and the brand new shiny poison capsules. Let's go! This nest would be pretty dangerous to take out in our conventional way, as there's a whopping 4 behemoth worms flinging their near insta-killing acid around. Let's see what the poison capsules can do against them. We still need to draw out all the mobile enemies though. It doesn't really help to throw poison capsules on them, as the endgame biters have way too many hit points to take significant damage from the poison. But the worms, they are a different story. Unlike the biters, they cannot escape the lingering poison cloud, and poison is not just a status effect in Factorio. Instead, each poison capsule stacks extra damage on top of the last one. In that regard, they are more comparable to low damage grenades which just keep on exploding all the time. And as you see, just throwing in a handful of poison capsules before making a swift retreat fully takes down the behemoth worms. And without the worms present, going in for the kill is easy as 1, 2, 3. After we quickly explore the far side of the peninsula and discover 2 hidden biter expansions there, we set up another base camp here between these 3 biter nests. We can tag them with poison one after the other to give the poison the time it needs to do its dirty magic, before we do a second loop to go in for the kill. The first expansion is only worms though, so we won't need to come back here to finish the job. Now, I wouldn't say this method is strictly better than the conventional bullets only approach we've been doing. The biter bases are immune to the poison, so they will be spawning many more enemies while we wait for the poison to take down the worms. So while the poison strategy makes the attack much safer than before, it also makes the attack more expensive than before. Fortunately, we are about to make all attacks a little cheaper and safer, as we finally complete the next level of bullet damage. However, out of all the levels, this is the most underwhelming one for its significant cost though, and it's also the one and only upgrade we can get in the Blue Science era. Those 2 factors made it not worth it for me to pursue this upgrade earlier. Meh, while the execution was a bit sloppy, I take it the poison concept is proven to work. And just like that, the game awards us with another achievement. Construct more machines using robot than manually. Well, I guess for this playthrough it should read, construct more pipes using robot than manually. Anyway, let's showcase the new and shiny Bully Damage 5 upgrade. The pre-armor damage on our bullets has increased from 20 to 26, which is barely significant really. The damage on the Behemoth biters has gone up from 8 to 13 per bullet though, and while over 50% increase sounds like a lot, it doesn't kill them all that much faster to have a significant influence on the outcome of the battle, and the saved ammo costs need to be severely paid for upfront by a whopping 500 each of red, green, military and blue science packs. Plus it requires you to make a whole new and complicated type of science pack just to get a single available upgrade. At least military science had 2 upgrades available. Now level 6 and beyond are more expensive still, but at least those tags have a much greater individual effect than level 5. Heck, even the measly 10% damage boost of level 1 arguably is a stronger upgrade than level 5, as it single-handedly reduces your ammo cost against small biters by 25%, and it doubles your damage output against medium biters. Quite a big deal in the early game, when everything is still very expensive. Okay, rant complete. I hope I had some entertaining footage to show while I was going on and on about this. Wait, what was I doing again? Oh right, I was exterminating biters. I must say that this whole process makes the biters feel a little on edge, if you catch my drift. Anyway, once we reach the waterfront, we place some solar powered radars to reveal some more land. Almost all of the previously generated land has meanwhile been settled by biters, but I betcha that we are generating a bunch of new, unsettled chunks again by walking around deep on this peninsula all the time. Anyway, we saved the hardest attack for last. We are up against our island's final boss, a heavily behemoth-wormed, double biter expansion in a strategic lakeside forest location, forcing us to assault them head-on. Let's see how it goes. Phew, what a battle. Now all that's left to do is to take out our friendly neighborhood biters next to the oil. I am almost sad to take them out, but we gotta do what we gotta do. We gotta do what we gotta do. And what we gotta do is to get rid of all those dangerous expansion circles. Meanwhile, almost all green circles have turned red, which means our anti-expansion pie blobs slowly start to lose their function. If all chunks are red, no chunks are. so we must just get rid of them altogether. Also, you may notice we just got the achievement Solaris. Produce 10 gigajoules by using only solar power. We got that one because we decided to phase out steam power completely, opting to just let the whole base die down during the nights, saving even more coal and even more pollution. But even that drastic measure couldn't save us forever, and as we finally get back to the base, we see a lot of idle furnaces due to the coal shortage. Also, the stone brick buffer has been completely depleted. We've got our next tasks cut out for us. So we lay down a quick 1 yellow belt coal mine. But it doesn't start up just yet, because it's night. And like I mentioned, we are running on pure solar power without accumulators at the moment, so the nights are eerily quiet. The effect on the base's pollution output certainly is visible on the map though. And as the morning comes, the coal mines slowly spring into action. And our coal problems soon are solved. We also quickly put up a couple stone brick furnaces to keep a trickle of military signs going. Now that we have sufficient coal incoming again, we can re-enable the steam power during the nights, so our base works like a normal base again. We then head back to the coal mine to solve the problem once and for all, extracting a full red belt of coal for the rest of the game. Coal crisis averted. But now the expansion chunk crisis begins. After the time pressure of the rocket launch achievement fell off my shoulders, I have been wasting way too much time trying to build needlessly neat bases and doing other kinds of OCD related stuff. Kinda forgetting that I'm still under some kind of time pressure with the BITERS running out of expansion locations outside of my base. A handful of unlucky expansions still could mean the end of the playthrough right now. Maybe it's already too late. The alert sounds are ringing as BITERS have entered my base and are destroying my infrastructure. That sizable group is definitely not a pollution-based attack, so I guess these guys are going to make a BITER expansion somewhere in or near my base. Let's follow them and see what happens. Unfortunately, they seem to be able to pathfind around my solar field instead of chewing straight through. As well as around my iron mine. Well, these guys are on quite the trip, aren't they? Soon I will lose the ability to follow them as they will start to traverse through dense biter expansions. I try to run around, but they're already out of sight. I'm curious though, so we save and use a command to reveal the map. And whoa, that's where you are expanding to? Man, these guys originated here, traveled halfway across the world, through my actual base where they vandalized a bunch of stuff, and then traveled back halfway across the world, just to settle a stone's throw away from their spawn point. Just wow. Anyway, the damage may look bad, but we have bots now. We can repair any damage with the click of a button. Well, as long as the damage doesn't involve a full chest of blue chips getting destroyed. But now I'm paranoid, so I prepare this turret welcome party in case any other biter expansion groups wants to stop by for a fun night out. Anyway, through all this you may have caught a glimpse of some yellow and purple science assemblers. And that's indeed what we've been working on. As here we've built the blue chips, the low density structures and the whole bot frame chain of ingredients. Let's switch it all on. And it's a success! All three of the ingredients are backing up on these belts. Now that we are starting with the late game science packs though, we are going to need that extra copper we skipped earlier. And soon enough we've got 4 belts of copper coming up. We still haven't started making yellow science yet though, as we can use its ingredients for plenty of other useful stuff first. Like the 100 productivity module 2s, which we can use for both the labs and the late game science pack assemblers. Soon enough though, we have 8 productivity module 2s ready. And we are ready to start producing the yellow science pack. And with it all the glorious new technologies and upgrades it unlocks. But we won't connect it to the labs just yet until also they have been upgraded with the productivity module 2s. So once the modules are ready, we do just that. And then we can connect the yellow and purple science pack belt to the labs. Well, off cam apparently, like a true professional. Anyway, we then complete the ingredients for the final pre-rocket science pack. Even though we don't really have the resource flow to run purple science just yet, but even a slow trickle will be enough to get a few of the crucial purple techs. With the base and mines producing in full force now, pollution is raging pretty hard on the map. All our previously separated pollution fields now are connected, and despite our war efforts, the red cloud still isn't too far away from the nearest BITER bases. Anyway, now we also have purple science set up, we definitely need some better brick baking. And as we are finally making electric furnaces now as a purple science ingredient, we may as well snatch 12 of those to do the job. Then we return back to our OG assembler area, where we're making a whole bunch of seemingly random, but actually carefully calculated amount of modules in all 3 colors of the Factorio rainbow, for some very specific purposes. With those purposes in mind, it is time to connect yellow and purple science to the labs. And as we select the first few researchers, we can slowly start to transform our thinking about the BITER problem in a whole new and exciting way. Next time. Last time we finally truly automated all 6 science packs, and we can freely research towards any tech we want in any order, without having to manually interfere with supplies. Progress! But before we can direct full focus towards getting all achievements, there are a few small improvements we should make to the base before heading out. First of all, a new stone mine. It was the only resource of which we didn't hook up an external patch yet. And purple science heavily relies on stone. Speaking of purple science, once we finish the purple tech of automation 3, we can upgrade the yellow and purple science assemblers to the Mark III variant. These can fit 2 extra modules, which means we can double the productivity bonus on these expensive science packs from 12 to 24%. Then we spend some time walking around the base. Literally around the base, placing radars powered by a single solar panel. While that's only 20% of their power requirement, it keeps the radar's direct surroundings lit up at all times. Well, at least during the daytime. But hey, if an expansion should settle somewhere near my land, I'll see it by the next morning. Then about this quickly cobbled together rocket fuel setup. Well, actually it will do just fine. It is a little far away from the rest of our base, but we will need so little of it, it's not enough justification to rebuild the whole thing elsewhere. And indeed, I guess to no one's surprise, some of the modules we were making were intended for the Power Armor Mark II. We also saved up enough blue chips and low density structures and whatnot to make a whole slew of equipment for its gear grid. Nice. We then add one more ingredient to our main bus: explosives. Wait, weren't main bus designs meant to be the exact opposite of spaghetti designs? Somehow I seem to keep combining those two concepts of a well-organized main bus and the utter chaos of spaghetti designs into a single spaghetti bus. Anyway, the explosives are meant for rockets, but we only want the explosive kind, so we spaghetti some more until somehow everything works together and only the explosive rockets end up in these chests over here. I don't even want to talk about it in more detail. The main question is, why do we even need the rockets? Well, a keen eye would spot there's way too many efficiency modules here for just the power armor. You know what else requires efficiency modules? Indeed, Spidertron does. Spidertron basically fully obsoletes my new and shiny Power Armor Mark II. It is a better physical armor, so we don't need shields. And we don't need legs either, since we'll be inside 8 of them. So rather than for defense, we can dedicate our whole Power Armor grid to an offensive task. So here we are making the only 100 laser turrets we will make for the entire playthrough. And we are not even going to place them anywhere on the map. We need the 100 laser turrets to make 20 personal laser defenses, which can fit in our now vacant power armor grid. Nice! We also made some extra portable fusion reactors, so we can quickly recharge the batteries between combat rounds. We are fully prepared. There's nothing else to do but watch a nice base time lapse while the Spidertron technology completes. Eventually, it is time. Ben the fish has returned from space to become the brain of Spider-Ben, the best armor in the game. Not only will he be a mean, lean, and not to mention speedy war machine, he will also help us move around the base with total disregard for any obstacles. No longer shall we get stuck behind pipes or be in the way to place an inserter. And we are not a minute too late to gear up for war. After 26 hours of playtime, the BITERS have made almost 400 expansions all over the map, and they are running out of nice green circled locations to expand into, which means they will start expanding into my base any moment now. But not if we can help it, they won't. It's Spiden time! Well, that wasn't quite as OP as I expected it to be, given how small this nest was. We are still missing a lot of important damage upgrades on our weaponry. And of course, we are at 100% evolution 100% of the time. Okay, so it's gonna be a little tedious, but to take out the small expansions, this will have to do. But man, those behemoth biters can still take a lot of laser beams to their face. But man, those behemoth biters can still take a lot of laser beams to their face. So for now we just avoid the naturally spawned nests, which are growing quite sizable further away from spawn, and we take out only the smaller expansions. And if we check back on the map, we can see that while the biters still control all territory, we are regenerating a lot of juicy green biter expansion locations, meaning the chance they'll expand into my base is strongly declining again. Nice! And so we continue for a while, and pretty soon most of the southern lands are listed as prime living locations by the biter realtors again. If only they knew what was to come. Well, they're realtors, they'd probably still scam you into buying the property. Anyway, we are undoing whole hours worth of biter expansions in mere minutes. Supremely satisfying. And as our weapon upgrades slowly roll in, we start to transform from our former maximize green chunks strategy to the get rid of nearby expansion chunks altogether strategy. This will require the biters to have to make several steps of expansions in my direction before it can even become a problem again. So this is clearly the superior strategy. And as a bonus of that nearby biter base cleanup, we finally gain access to that nearby northern oil field. It's not very rich to begin with, but it will provide decent support for the base for a little while. Meanwhile, we completed all laser damage upgrades, so we return to the south to clear up the bigger nests there as well. Much better. Not only do the lasers do over 50% extra damage now, they also fire significantly faster. And we have been saving up our rocket support to help take out the larger nests. That starts to clear things up quite nicely. We are about to take on 3 of the largest and most dangerous nests so far, so we are waiting for the next rocket upgrade technology to complete. But alas, somewhere some pipe got accidentally rotated or something, which has single-handedly stopped the entire base in its tracks, and the tech is stuck at 99% with no more yellow sign specks on the belts. Somehow we managed time and time again to do more damage to the factory ourselves than that the biters ever could. Oh well, let's do it without the upgrade then. Well, that still wasn't exactly hard, but I guess a little more wasteful than with the damage upgrade. Anyway, we desperately try to get some functional use out of our poison capsules, but it's in vain. Like I mentioned earlier, the mobile behemoths are just too strong to be significantly affected. And
3 hours later.
we have pushed back the biters significantly. But was it worth it? Okay, so they need 3 to 4 expansions stacked in my direction to become a problem again, but with some bad luck, that could happen in less than an hour. We will have to see. Actually, let's just see it now. I did a fun little simulation where it took about 5 hours for the biters to settle dangerously close by again, and about 10 hours before they reclaimed most of the lost land. And after 20 to 30 hours, they have completely undone my 4 hours of extermination effort. Anyway, that extra oil patch, though poor, could still outproduce our measly 8 refineries, so we doubled our complete refining and oil cracking setup, which will likely make it future-proof enough for the rest of this playthrough. And we also optimized our copper ore bottleneck by making sure the belts are fully compressed by side-loading the ore onto each individual belt, instead of just using a 4x4 balancer. Anyway, as the base is now fully built and supplied with all its needs, and the biters have been pushed back to a satisfactory degree, at least for now, we finally dare to open the achievements tab again. We are at 23 achievements out of 38, which means we have only gotten 4 new achievements post rocket launch, nearly 17 hours ago. Anyway, what still is left to achieve? Well, first of all, we need to research all technologies for this one, so let's get on with that, I suppose. We need to do some player supplying with logistics robots, which isn't that big of a deal, I guess. We then need a train to plan a 1000 tile path across our base. That's kinda hard at the moment without any rail network, I guess, but anyway. Also somehow on this hardcore deathless run, we need to get killed by said train. I wonder how that is going to work out then. Anyway, we also need to survive getting overrun by said train, to get the Golem achievement. Moving on to the production based goals. We're about 3/4 on the way to a cool million green circuits, which is still at depressingly few pixels on the 20 million green circuits achievements bar, especially after 30 hours of gameplay. The red chips and blue chips are production per hour kind of goals, so we'll probably have to do them in dedicated production bursts, as we don't really need to expand their production for any other purposes anymore. Then there's Iron Throne 3. Well, I guess that's an automatic one once we start building green chip infrastructure. Then there's the Cool Kit achievements of steamrolling spawners and flaming forests. Lit. Literally. And eventually there's the utterly useless and uncomfortably out of the way achievement of Minions. Have 100 combat robots following you. That doesn't sound too bad at first glance, but to be able to do that you need to invest several thousands of space science into arguably the most useless of the infinite technologies. 5 more levels of follower robot count, which means we need several expensive rocket launches with an expensive satellite on board, which is only unlocked by an expensive technology. What is the best way to tackle all of these? We'll discuss that next time. Last time we finally fully finished up the main Factorio factory. And we took a look at all of the achievements we still need to complete. One of them stands out as the obvious candidate to work towards first. And while there indeed are some much easier achievements to achieve, 20 million green chips is clearly gonna be the bottleneck of the whole playthrough. So we first gotta do some work to set this peaceful achievement in motion a bit. Well, peaceful. After investigating the map, the best area to set it up seems to be in the northwestern corner of the explored map. There's lots and lots of iron and copper patches, but also lots and lots of biters. So a Spider-Man's gotta do what a Spider-Man's gotta do once more. But first we do some peaceful exploring, sneaking between the biter bases to find out what lies beyond the high density resource cluster area. But all we find beyond is a high density biter cluster area. Anyway, physical damage upgrade 6 completes, and while damage 5 was kind of a letdown, damage 6 is actually a significant difference. Just look how fast the gun turrets can take down behemoth biters now. This big nest here is as difficult as combat is gonna get until we meet naturally spawned behemoth worms in distant nests far away from spawn. Anyway, we still need to explore and clear much more land to access the further away patches, and while we could start preparing to utilize these nearby couple patches as they are nicely surrounded by forests to help keep pollution in check, I first want to get the bigger picture and clear out all the land we need to see just how many resources we have to work with before we start design work on the 20 million green chip setup. But we do need to make a small intermission in our kill spree, so we can actually operate the massive infrastructure later. Because the first step towards a large base is a large power plant. We are gonna need nuclear power, so we set up an early uranium mine to start generating the stuff to fuel that nuclear power plant in the future. And the future is now, so once we centrifuged our first handful of uranium-235, we can go ahead and fuel the reactors. While the bots install the rest of the facility. And yes, I'm again reusing my old blueprint of the 100% fuel efficient nuclear power plant. I know that with a little more advanced wiring, also involving the outserter, the whole belting is unnecessary. But sue me, I just like to see the shiny fuel cells go brrrr on the belts. Anyway, I hereby promise that in my next series I will design all my nuclear plants by hand, without using my own blueprints. A promise that's gonna be easy to keep, as none of my designs will physically fit in Factorio. Anyway, as our current power draw isn't even 10% of this reactor's 480 megawatts max capacity, even these few fuel cells are gonna last a very long time. And actually, this time we're gonna save even more fuel than usual, because we are still running on our 1000 solar panels during the daytime, which means each fuel cell will easily last more than an hour instead of the usual 200 seconds it would last in an unregulated nuclear power plant. Anyway, back to bullying behemoth biters. We need to find out the lay of the land beyond all these shiny iron and copper patches. And after a ruthless and utterly dominating kill spree, well, it looks like there's a giant waterfront behind these resources. That's both good and bad news. It's good news in that the biters cannot cross over the water from beyond, but it's bad news because the pollution from the mines will easily spread over the unforested desert and water, causing unreachable biters from beyond the seas to part towards my base around the water, and probably cluster into heavy attacks in a small bottleneck of land. During our kill spree, we reach 1 million green chips. Perhaps we don't even need to expand to get the 20 million then, eh? Well, unfortunately we do, Not only would the required playtime extrapolate to a whopping 666 hours, we'd also run our resource patches dry long before making a dent in the 20 million chips we need. Expansion is inevitable. And 33 hours into the game, I think we cleared all the land we need for now. We are gonna build our 20 million green chip producing setup smack in the middle of this giant resource cluster field. But there's a problem. For a project this size, we are gonna need massive amounts of machinery, literal thousands of miners, furnaces and assemblers, which all need to be supplied and powered somehow. So this is the point in the game where handcrafting and hand feeding has reached its limit. I will have to concede. It is finally time to set up a mall. So with this giant Gordian knot of spaghettiatelle extraordinaire, which seems to contain more splitters and underground belts than actual normal belts, we somehow split off the correct ingredients to make miners and manufacturing machines. A sneaky splitter makes sure we'll make about 2 miners for every assembly machine too, in times of resource shortness, which is close enough to the ratio we need. We then add power poles to the setup, which need a bit of copper. There's really no way to neatly draw that off the boss anymore, so we simply pluck it off the boss with a long-handed inserter. We want to keep their production speed limited anyway, so they don't steal all the steel from the blue von Neumann assembler making copies of itself. We're also gonna need thousands of inserters in all 3 colors, and while we have yellow inserters automated at green signs, it is just simpler to re-automate them here and have everything available at a central location, without possibly starving green signs production. So let's immediately contradict my own logic by semi-automating red underground belts and splitters, but not the red belts themselves. The new logic being, I still have thousands of red belts in stock, so I want my resources to flow into the stuff I actually don't have in stock yet. I then even further contradict my own logic by just accumulating electric furnaces in a chest at purple signs. And despite trying really hard, I ran out of excuses to make some sort of justification for it. Well, it'll do anyway, I guess. The only bulk necessity we won't automate is efficiency modules. We can simply make up to 3200 efficiency modules at a time by a quick minute of hand feeding 16,000 red chips and 16,000 green chips in our OG assembly area. Nice! Well, since the achievement is only about producing 20 million green chips, we won't be consuming them into something useful. So we will also need roughly 2000 steel chests to store all those useless green chips. But why are we automating gun turrets? That doesn't seem to make any sense. Well... While Spidertron is great in clearing out all the biters from our plot of land, it isn't all that useful in keeping them out. At 100% evolution, biter expansion is brutal, with them forming a new biter nest every 4 minutes. That's 15 expansions per hour, and we're gonna be here for a lot of hours still. So with literal hundreds of expansions to deal with, the biters will quickly take over all cleared land again. We need an automated way to stop that enemy expansion from happening. Now, do you remember how well our gun turrets did against behemoth biters after we got the last ammo damage upgrade? Well, they will do even better with uranium ammo, which does a whopping 3 times the raw damage output, quadrupling the effective damage against the heavily armored behemoth biters. And with a minigun-like shooting speed of 25 bullets per second, an individual gun turret with uranium ammo will be capable of 3000 damage per second, which is far higher than any other turret in the game. Okay, so while that all is true, gun turrets also have 3 major shortcomings compared to laser turrets and flamethrowers. They only have 400 hit points as opposed to 1000 for the flamethrowers and lasers, which means they are easily destroyed by only a few blobs of acid from Behemoth's BITERS if they can get their shots in. And they often will get their shots in, as the gun turret's range is only 18 compared to the Behemoth's BITERS' 16 range. That means even with the gun turret's insane DPS, the second or so the gun turret is distracted killing the fast incoming Behemoth biters is often enough time for the Behemoth's BITERS to get a shot in. Compared to the 25 range of a laser turret, lasers have way more time to shoot incoming enemies before being in danger, and the flamethrower turrets with its 30 range can be built with a wall so far out that the Behemoth's BITER won't be able to come close enough to target the flamethrower at all, as I showcased in the ultimate Death World challenge. Anyway, the real reason to go for gun turrets with uranium ammo is that I just want to showcase them in this playthrough, while still keeping in line a bit with the spirit of the Raining Bullets achievement, without utilizing any flamethrowers or laser turrets. I also won't be expecting any heavy pollution based attacks, or so I hope, because we are going to forgo the usual endgame setup of productivity tree assemblers surrounded by speed tree beacons. Those are great for resource efficient mega bases, but they're also insanely polluting, and for us, pollution will remain something to worry about for the rest of the game. So our strategy is going to be to put efficiency modules in not only the miners, but in everything, including the electric furnaces and assembly machines. That way, even though we are aiming for a massive green chip production in the range of 10 to 20 full red belts of green chips, we are still clinging on to the hope that pollution output will remain low enough to not trigger giant biter attacks. And that should save us from the third drawback of the gun turrets, which is the resource cost of the ammo. Where laser turrets are basically free with nuclear power, and flamethrowers consume minimal oil for massive area of effect damage, the bullets needed for gun turrets are straight up expensive in any stage of the game. But that's the point of the efficiency modules. We are not building a defense for pollution based attacks. We are just building a border wall to stop illegal biter immigrants from settling the land we took from them. Wait, we are the bad guy here, aren't we? Anyway, theoretically, or rather I should say optimistically, the only biters we plan to spend our expensive ammo on are the groups of the up to 20 biters which will try to cross into our lands up to 15 times per hour. Compared to defending a high pollution base from biter attacks, that's basically peanuts. Uranium peanuts in this case. Well, we'll have to see if that will work out like I think it will. Well, with our base mostly finished and with the mall in process of producing, let's start tracking some achievements. We optimistically opt to track progress for the 20 million green chip achievement already, as well as Tech Maniac, which we are pretty close to completing. We also opt to follow Steamrolled, but there's a slight problem with that one. Which problem? Well, Spidertron cannot steamroll anything. He is basically the dark matter of Factorio. He doesn't directly interact with anything, yet his presence is still of great influence on the biters in the Factorio universe. No, to actually steamroll anything, we are going to need something which rolls. Like a tank. We then prepare to head out and go and build the first anti-biter expansion wall and collect all the stuff we need to build it. I'll come back off camp to collect the other all, like belts and inserters I guess. We also promptly forget about the steamroll plan for the next several hours, but since we're already proudly following the steamrolled achievement progress on screen, I figure I should at least mention it. Anyway, it is time to wall. We are going for only a light defense, fed by long-handed inserters, which should keep my weak belts and inserters from getting wrecked by collateral damage from Behemoth's BITERS pit. We may lose a gun turret, but the supply system must keep operating. Soon the half density line of gun turrets is in place, and we're ready for a defense test. We spot a new enemy expansion and draw its inhabitants down to our wall. The single behemoth biter and his following of a small sample of squishy spitters is easily dealt with. So let's gather something more serious. Yeah, that's more like it. After a bit of tactical sheep herding to organize the group, we lead them into the wall head-on in the worst possible configuration, with the tanky behemoth biters distracting the gun turrets from the ranged spitters. And while there is some damage to the wall, this was an oversized group, well over 50 enemies large. The maximum expansion group is 20 enemies large, so I think we can call it a success. As we will supply only a limited amount of ammo to each individual wall segment, we prevent the ammo from clumping up on the belt by using this slow inserter to redistribute the ammo at fixed intervals. Since we are hopefully dealing with only the occasional expansion group trying to force through, the low throughput should cause no problems. We can only carry so much with us, so once we run out of building materials, we head back to the base to resupply. But on the way back up to the wall, we find an unwelcome surprise. New biter nests have already expanded quite a distance away from the previously cleared area, and there are multiple bases within our planned wall again. Well, at least this shows we really do need that wall we're building. On the way up, we also plop down a few solar-powered radars next to the lake, so we can slowly and peacefully explore the lands beyond the lake. We then spot an actual enemy expansion in progress, and we can see the assembled biter group slowly transform themselves into worms and nests. Well, until my solar-powered radar cuts out in the nighttime. Soon though, the northwest corner is fully walled off. We can see the end result of that enemy expansion, forming 2 spawners and a handful of worms. The enemy expansion chunk candidates now extend firmly on our side of the wall. But should one of those chunks be selected for biter expansions, they will try to cross our anti-expansion wall, which hopefully means they will fail to reach the expansion location, due to being dead. They could still reach it from the unwalled right side though, so it's time to rain down some more destruction on the biters, in an effort to find the best location for our eastern wall. And man, with all damage upgrades finally researched, we are just melting through these nests at an incredible pace. But after all that monotonous eradicating and erecting, a sudden surge of achievement hunting crave finally gets the best of me. And we interrupt our biter exterminating wall building mission to hunt down some achievements. We are not going to be expanding our main base anymore, but we are still missing the red and blue chips achievement. Rather than just being a blunt total production goal, these are both hourly production goals, and as it turns out, our current setup is just not capable of achieving these. I had already switched off research and blue chip production a while ago to increase resource flow to red chips, hoping that it'd be enough. But even with all red chip assemblers running continuously, we have been producing only 21k red chips per hour. That means the assembler speed is the current bottleneck keeping us from the achievement. No problem. Now with nuclear power available, we can just upgrade to the assembly machine Mark III and enjoy its 66% speed increase. But there's always a new bottleneck, and this time it's the speed of the red belts, which caps the red chip production at 450 per hour. So we double the plastic build, and double the input belt to feed the red chip setup. Now that everything is up and running at full speed, all we need to do is wait for the achievement. We can then give the same treatment to blue chips. But we will wait until after we get the red chips achievement. I don't think we have the green chip resource flow to attempt both at the same time. In fact, why not upgrade the whole base to the tier 3 assembler while we wait for the red chip achievement? And there it is. Now we will switch focus on blue chip production. By putting green chip output priority away from red chips instead of towards it. We then clear out space for 8000 new blue chips in our buffer chests, so blue chip production can start off in full swing. For the achievement we need to produce 5000 blue chips in 1 hour. And a full red belt of green chips should be enough for 5400 blue chips per hour, or indeed 90 per minute. The only problem is we are not really producing a full belt of green chips, but we can pretend we can by using the 7 chests of previously stocked up chips to artificially increase production for a while. If all goes well, we should reach 5000 blue chips in 56 minutes, barely making the achievement. We also have been having oil shortage problems for a while now, so let's solve that once and for all by connecting 2 rich and distant oil fields to our poor dried up starter fields. That should be the last time we need to think about oil for the rest of the playthrough. Then it happens. Official medical proof that it's not me who's crazy, it's you. My anti-biter expansion wall intercepts the first biter expansion. There's dead bodies at the wall to prove it and everything. And of course, also the blinking green circle which confirms it was this chunk which was selected for biter expansion. It works! It works! In fact, we can do a dramatic reenactment of what happened by loading the last save. The biters at this nest are idle. Suddenly they're called into action for the task of forming a biter expansion. Indeed, the green circle is blinking. And there they come, on their journey to the greener grass on my side of the wall. Well, sucks to be you, biters. Anyway, the grass is not greener on my side either. There's just more bare and deserted desert. That small success finally gives me the kick under my bottom that I needed to continue the wall. The 5k blue chips per hour achievement should complete by itself now anyway. And while we are trying to figure out how our diagonal anti-biter expansion wall should look, while almost being ambushed by one of those biter expansions, the blue chip achievement completes. And we just barely made it, as the green chip belt isn't even fully filled anymore. That means we can safely start up researching again, rediverting our limited resource intake towards science packs instead of red or blue chips again. I'm glad those red and blue chip achievements are out of the way. Normally you would get those achievements organically on the way towards building a mega base with an X science per minute goal. But we are not planning such a base. After getting all the techs we need, we only care about a green chip producing base. So it's good we got them out of the way now. By the way, speaking of things being in the way, the east wall is almost up. And after we finish figuring out the diagonal blueprint, and find a way to connect it to the orthogonal blueprint with some extra turrets on the weak outside corner. The second biter expansion plan gets thwarted. The kill stats show a group of 19 enemies were killed in action. Their intended destination was on our side of the lake. I have a feeling that's gonna be a popular holiday destination for the biters, and this is gonna be a busy border crossing. And one more diagonal wall later, the entire horseshoe wall is done. It's larger than it looks, and including the water border, there's only 3 more land sections in the far south where biters can expand up to the north. While we will need to wall that off eventually, I think they are far enough out so that we can finally start to work on the actual green chip infrastructure first, instead of the many security related issues. So, after spending another 2 hours of building mines, furnaces, assemblers and belts, we are finally ready to turn on our first quad belt green chip production setup, all powered through the single power pole. And after the furnaces sequentially light up the night with a warm, fuzzy glow, we connect their output belts to our quadruple green chip assembly line. Where they will slowly start to fill the 480 cold empty steel hearts, the chests capable of storing almost 4.6 million green chips. This setup is supplied by a giant 10 million iron mine and 2 copper mines totaling over 17 million. Basically what I'm saying is, even if we just AFK'd for hundreds of hours and fully mined up these entire patches, that still wouldn't be enough to get the 20 million green chip achievement by far. Yeah, this achievement's production requirement is an order of magnitude larger than all of the other achievements combined. That's how out of line this achievement is. There's still a lot of work to do and a lot of problems to solve. While this initial green chip block and its mines are located comfortably far away from biter bases and nicely smack in the middle of some pollution absorbing forests, the majority of the projected ore patches are situated a whole lot less ideally. So if I'm wrong about the estimated pollution output against the very limited terrain pollution absorption capacity, biter attacks are going to escalate very quickly into unmanageable numbers for our super lightly defended walls. And we are going to be in big trouble. Next time. Last time, after seemingly endless preparations of clearing the land and keeping the land clear by building the anti-biter expansion wall, we finally took the first step towards the 20 million green chip production goal by building our first green chip production block, capable of producing 4 red belts of green chips equal to 120 per second or 70 to 100 per minute or 0.4 million per hour. Which means 50 hours for 20 million, and that's assuming our mines are infinite, which they aren't. Yeah, we are still barely making a dent. But wait a minute, since we are making all of these green chips anyway, why should we just store them in chests? While we are never going to need anything near the number of green chips we are going to produce, we may as well take 2 of those green chip belts and lead them out towards our base. Those 2 belts of green chips can then replace our base's own green chip setup, freeing up all that iron and copper for all the other destinations within our base. Nice! Anyway, the real bottleneck in our base is steel, but we won't need to solve it. With 20 million green chips to produce, we are in no particular hurry to get anything else done. We are better off focusing our efforts towards getting the achievements, rather than towards fixing undoubtedly real but ultimately irrelevant bottlenecks. Meanwhile, the anti-biter expansion wall blocks the already 5th biter expansion. This thing is doing its job well. And indeed, the whole walled-off northern horseshoe is still free of biter expansions, but during the last hours, when we were building the northern walls and the first green chip infrastructure, the biters have been wildly expanding in the south, and they're creeping up right against our early game pipe blob anti-expansion system again. Hey, that's nice. Thanks to our 4-belt green chip block, we intermittently achieve the 3rd and last iron plates per hour production goal. Nice! That leaves us at 27 out of 38 achievements. And you know what? F all that logic and efficiency stuff. We are going to solve that steel bottleneck, and we are going to go on an easy achievement hunting tour instead of doing the efficient thing and continue to work on the green chip infrastructure for hours on end. Biter Evolution has been maxed out from the start of the game. That was the whole point of this challenge, so it's not like we're on a timer here, eh? So let's double the steel smeltery and lead any iron plate overproduction there to be smelted into additional steel for the base. Alright, achievement hunting time. The added steel smeltery has kicked in, and way more labs now have access to the steel devouring purple signs. While the penultimate 5000 sign spec technology of atomic bomb slowly completes in the morning dawn, only one technology remains. It is nuclear fuel reprocessing. Nuclear fuel reprocessing. Merely a placeholder and one of the most useless technologies in the game, costing only a paltry 50 sign specs. And after little seconds have passed, we victoriously claim another achievement. Tech Maniac. Research all of the non-infinite technologies in the game. Or, in other words, all of the techs which don't require the white space sign specs. We will need some of that space science later for one of the more out-of-the-way achievements, but again, F efficiency, let's go hunting down the easy ones. Well, we weren't allowed to use a logistics network earlier, before the rocket launch, but now we can. We must actually, as while we are not planning on actually using logistics bots during this playthrough, there are 2 achievements connected to them. Supply the player with 1 item and supply the player with 10,000 items. Believe it or not, that second achievement is barely harder than the first one. Behold. Let's put 2400 wood in this storage chest, but then we tell the logistics bots we want to have 2400 wood in our inventory at all times. And there we go. The first achievement is in as the bots picked up all the 2400 wood and delivered it to us. And now it takes just 4 simple shift clicks to keep moving the wood to our logistics trash slots, which makes the bot say, "No, you silly person, you specifically are requesting to carry 2400 wood, now take it back already." And just like that, the bots supplied us with over 10,000 items. Thank you bots for your service, but I regret to inform you that after less than a minute of active duty, you now have become obsolete and may rust away. Rest all day, of course. Well, during that honorary speech, Factorio guy slipped away and we can find him at his favorite location of the playthrough, the base of the OG assembly area, where he is making hundreds of energy shields. Why is that? Ooh, Golem. Take a 500 damage punch to the face and survive. Since that is likely going to involve walking in front of a train and surviving, let's also check the Factorio Express and the easiest achievement in the game, which everybody achieves fully unintended. Watch your step, or get killed by a moving locomotive. Anyway, we still have 1000 spare rails from the early game Purple Science production, as well as the locomotive we had to build during the first 90 minutes of the game. We are all set. So let's go ahead and construct a nice and cozy rail path to get the 1000 tile Trans Factorio Express achievement. The achievement only requires the train to plan the path, not complete it. So yeah, we could have weaseled out and aborted the train ride immediately. But where's the fun in that? Check. And now it's time to Superman stop a moving train. Now, while I could have carefully tested out at what speed the train should go and how much damage I can take, but whatever. I just made 20 Mark II energy shields. There is no way that a single locomotive can kill me. Right? Well, that was unexpected. The train traveling at top speed couldn't even deliver the required 500 damage. But perhaps it was my own wrongdoing. I left the poor locomotive running on wood. Perhaps feeding it some rocket fuel will do the trick. Nice! It still barely put a scratch on my armor, but the 500 damage has been done. Of course, we cannot take the other train to the face achievement just yet, as this is a hardcore run. Alright, 32 achievements down, 5 more to go. Let's see what's next. Okay. Okay. Okay, I think I very brightly see what's going to be next. So let's march over to a calm, serene and most of all densely forested location. Actually, that fully efficiency moduled green chip producing setup is producing an alarmingly large pollution cloud, by the way. Especially given that the whole thing is in a fairly forested area. But indeed, the next achievement is going to cause some pollution of its own. It's Pyromaniac. Destroy 10,000 trees with fire. That sounds like a lot of work. But like a zombie apocalypse, the work mostly does itself once our first few flammable forest friends feel infected. And that's a quarter of the required trees burned down with one single action. Nice! So let's just run around in Spider-Man and set some other forests ablaze. Hey, you know, I think that'll do, my friend. You really should stop now. No? No? Okay. Well, I'm not gonna argue with a man pointing a flamethrower at my face. Anyway, the tree carcass counter quickly starts to ramp up indeed, and in no time... Yeah, we may have overdid it a little. Well, I guess the achievement is called Pyromaniac for a reason. Then we just so happen to spot another enemy expansion trying to happen live on camera. Indeed, they're trying to cross the same busy border, seeking a holiday at that same popular southern beach site. Well, I think there's only one more easily achievable achievement. Steamrolled, which basically means to ram your tank straight into enemy nests to flatten 10 biter bases. But instead of rushing in like a maniac, we do the smart thing and draw out all the moving enemies into a wall of death. And then we can nicely and easily drive in with the tank to flatten the puny nests. But oh whoops, those behemoths are a lot sturdier than they look, and suddenly I find myself running for dear life. Well, that's embarrassing. I only brought one tank, didn't I? Okay then, round 1 goes to the biters. We will make the walk of shame back to our base to resupply. But we won't make the same mistake twice. 4 more attempts should be enough though, or else I will uninstall the game. Okay biters, round 2. Nice. 5 nests down, 5 to go. But that still wasn't the best approach. Those behemoth worms could have easily taken me out. The tank really shines in the early mid-game when it first becomes available. But as nothing about the tank is upgradable, in the endgame our tank becomes the spearman against their tanks. So on the next nest we will go in manually and first snipe all the worms. Then rolling in with the tank becomes much easier. Nine down, 1 more. Gotcha! We then accidentally try to steamroll Spider-Ben, but he doesn't move a muscle and stands utterly unimpressed. Oh well, I have gotten the Game Master's signature under the achievement. Soon everyone will have forgotten the shameful way I acquired it. And then there were only 3. Those are of course the easiest one, the hardest one, and the most annoyingly out of the way one. And the one which requires the most work. We'll try to get all of those next time. Last time we hunted down all the low-hanging fruit achievements and we are left with only 3 achievements to obtain. The logical thing to do would be to continue work on the green chip achievement, but today is not that day. While the optimal order is to first spend countless hours of dedicated work to get green chips running at full speed and only then, in the idle time between finishing the green chip build and actually passing the 20 million green chip production mark, go hunt down the other achievements, today is not that day. We also missed the 8-hour limit for the There is no spoon achievement, but today is definitely not that day. No! We will keep taking the fun way, and after picking all the low-hanging fruits first last episode, today we'll go for the medium to high-hanging fruits of minions. Before we will need to pick all the fruit on the entire planet of Novice to get past the 20 million green chip thing. At least then, when we will finally start pursuing the green chip achievement, we will have the peace of mind knowing that it's the last thing we'll need to do on this planet, so that after it's done, we can rest and die in peace. But today is not that day. So, let's get on with minions. So, subscribe now and help me achieve 100 new followers. Oh, wait, what? It doesn't work that way. Okay. Well, apparently it's only bot accounts that count for the achievement. Well, first things first. Researching all regular technologies only gets you up to a maximum of 50 robot followers, so we will need 5 more levels of follower robot count, each giving you a +10 of maximum follower robots, meaning we need a total of exactly 6,000 more science packs. That means we will need to launch an additional 6 more rockets. But wait, there's less. If you order within 6 minutes, we will give you 20% productivity bonus in all your labs, meaning we can research 6,000 science packs worth of technology with exactly 5,000 physical science packs. That means we get a 1 rocket launch discount and need to launch only 5. Each rocket consists of 100 rocket parts made in the rocket silo. But since we already fitted the silo with 4 Mark III productivity modules for our initial game-winning launch, we only need ingredients for 72 rocket parts to produce each rocket. So we only need 720 low-density structures for each of the 5 rockets, which we are going to collect in these 5 pairs of chests under these 5 lamps. We already have enough low density structures for 2 of the 5 rockets we need to launch, so we will just come back periodically and keep transferring newly produced low density structures to these chests. Yes, we could use a belt, or logistics bots even, but I'm sure we will need to do this collecting for rocket launches stuff only once. So let's keep within the spirit of this playthrough and control everything ourselves. Anyway, we are also going to need 5 times 720 rocket control units, so 3600 in total. That means 3600 blue chips. Well, that was an easy transfer to make. However, we will also need 3600 speed modules, which we are producing nowhere. 16,000 red and green chips are needed for those, so there is no way we will do that by hand. Wait. The full spider inventory exactly fits the exact 16,000 red chips he needs? Illuminati confirmed. Then we simply put another 16,000 green chips in our pants pocket and head over back to our OG assembly area. That thing keeps being useful. But wait, it seems the area already has been in use and someone forgot to empty out the assemblers. Well, that's awkward. These assemblers are still chock full of efficiency modules. What could we need all of those for then? Anyway, let's use this one handy trick to empty out all assemblers. Nice. Wait, that's nearly 5,000 efficiency modules. Well, I didn't lie when I said the 20 million green chip thing is going to require countless hours of building. Anyway, with the assemblers empty, we then distribute our whopping 32,000 chips over 80 assemblers and wait a minute, Illuminati deconfirmed. That will only make 3200 speed modules, not the full 3600. All that fuss about nothing. Anyway, I'll add some extra speed modules off cam then. The final ingredient for the rocket parts is rocket fuel. Since we have been producing rocket fuel for hours and hours without ever using any for anything, there's a good chance we'll already have the full 3600 rocket fuel stocked up. Let's go take a look. And indeed, all 16 chests are full. That'll do, I guess. Spider-Man can carry 800 and we can pick up another 1000 ourselves, so that should be exactly halved. We should be able to fully fill up the top row of chests. Nice. That means we can transfer the entire 3600 rocket fuel in just 2 quick trips. Not too bad. And that's all rocket fuel supplied. Now we just need to do the same for the low density structures and the rocket control units once they're done. Rocket control units are extremely slow to produce and I don't want to wait around for hours, so we slightly expanded rocket control unit production. And for this low pollution playthrough by exception, we outfitted the assemblers with speed modules. Next to zero waste production, another advantage of bulk hand feeding is an extremely quick production time on demand. We basically produced 4000 speed modules in mere minutes, and we even did it in our starter base. Incredible. So we'll add 3600 speed modules to the 3600 blue chips and have them loop around back to the start with underground belts so they don't get bunched up at the end. Now, since we have exactly 3600 of each, it is unlikely they will exactly pair up in the right assemblers at the end, so I will add an extra stack of blue chips to the system. This will make sure all assemblers can take a few extra blue chips in at the end, so they will consume all the speed modules they take in. Since there are only exactly 3600 speed modules to consume, there still won't be any rocket control unit overproduction, and we can just reclaim the extra stack of blue chips from the assemblers in the end. So that's all ingredients in progress to build the actual rockets. Now we gotta work on the stuff we need to send into space. It is time to start work on the 5 satellites we need. First of all, we need 500 accumulators, which we of course quickly produce in our OG assembly area. We also need 500 solar panels, but there's no need to produce those. We already did. Since we are running on reliable nuclear power now, the solar field we used in the early game to lower pollution output when we desperately needed to has become obsolete. So we just ordered our bots to deconstruct half of the 1000 panel solar field, and Bob's Mods your auntie. Man, if only personal construction bots would count for the 100 follower robot count achievement, we'd already have it and there would be no need to launch any of these additional rockets. Oh well. There's 4 other ingredients required to make satellites, but at this stage those pose no problems anymore. We simply collect 500 blue chips and 500 low density structures from chests, take 25 raiders out of our spider's inventory, stir it up with 250 rocket fuel, and bam! We suddenly built 5 entire billion-dollar satellites by hand in 25 seconds. In the chest they go, and that means Everything we need to launch the 5 rockets has been arranged. We are just waiting for the last couple hundred low density structures and rocket control units to complete. So while we wait, General Spider-Ben and I spend some time staring at the map to strategize the proper deployment of our resources. And the installation location of the Grand Southern Wall to close off our existing Horseshoe Wall. Meanwhile, our raiders have revealed new enemy expansions all the way up directly against our pipe dream, with a suspiciously large empty swath of land behind it. Something's fishy there, don't you say, Ben? And indeed, they reveal a dozen or so new expansions in this small area alone. The biters have been busy indeed. Anyway, soon the last of the rocket control units roll down the belts. And we can reclaim the extra blue chips we put in the system earlier. The last of the low density structures have been produced as well, which means that all that remains to be done is to take 4 trips in Spider-Ben to deliver it all to the silo. And one more trip to go pick up our inventory so we can power the damn thing and so on. And 15 minutes later, we are the proud owner of our first and last 5000 space science packs. Oh yeah! With all the weird hand-controlled concepts of this playthrough ingrained deep in our system by now, we distribute the 5000 space signs to the labs like any sane person would do, really. But can you spot the mistake I'm making? Well, I didn't. Anyway, since these are the last tags we will ever need, and we have saved up 5000 of each other science packs in the game as well, we can fully cut off regular science production as well now. That will free up the entire base's resource processing capacity to produce all the equipment and especially modules we will need for all the future green chip infrastructure. Well, we spent all this time thinking about all the rocket launches and research packs we need for the achievement. We would almost forget we need the actual physical combat robots to follow us around. We opt to go for the fancy, expensive destroyer bots. Robots have a limited lifetime, and it will take a while to deploy all 100 for the lower grade robots. Destroyer capsules though deploy 5 robots at a time, making sure we'll have the time to deploy all of them before the first ones start dying off. Can you imagine? Now we have done literally everything we need to do for the minions achievement. We just gotta wait for the 5 follower robot count technologies to complete. Our supervision here is no longer needed, Ben. I'm sure everything will be fine on its own now. We can safely go out with our inventories full of miners and belts and start installing some mining outposts in preparation for the 20 million green chip achievement. And by the time we return, I'm sure the labs will have consumed the full 5000 science packs. So we install some truly gargantuan copper mines and we're on to the last technology. Nice! This 6-to-4 lane splitter abomination sideloads the main 4 copper belts with extra ore from the edges of the mine, keeping priority on the dense center and only using the low density edges of the ore when the center bulb cannot keep the belts full. And while we build the truly humongous iron mine, the final technology completes. And that should have consumed every last drop of space science we have. Nice. Wait, why is research still ongoing? Oh, right. Level 11 is the final level we need. I thought it was level 10. My bad. Then now we are researching the final technology of the game. We use this 8-to-4 splitter with input priority on the rich center of the ore patch, again trying to prevent the lower density edges from drying up early. Last technology at 42% and counting. And that's the second trio of mining outposts done. The core for another 4 lanes of green chip production. So yeah, we will need another one of these guys. Another furnace block which can smelt 10 lanes of ore into plates. Alright, the final technology is at 69% and counting. Let's watch the lab's epic finale together. Huh? That wasn't supposed to happen. Some of the labs have stopped working. Wait a minute, what's going on? Darn you labs, I knew I shouldn't have trusted that order within 6 minutes commercial. But I don't understand. What went wrong? Oh no. That happened. I calculated the numbers assuming Mark III productivity modules in the labs, but we have only the Mark II. Instead of 20% productivity bonus, they give only 12%. So with the 5000 space science packs we supplied, they could generate only 5600 packs worth of research. We are 400 packs short on the last 1400 science pack technology. Unfortunately, we cannot launch 1/3 of a rocket for the 400 missing space science. We will have to make yet another full 1000 space science pack rocket yet again, which in this specific case basically fully nullifies the effect of the productivity modules in the first place. To be honest, I had counted on having to make another rocket, but for a completely different reason than my own stupidity. I had wanted to show off an annoying rounding error in the calculation of science pack consumption, which occurs in some rare cases. To be fair, a fair while ago the devs have already fixed a significant loss of fractional science packs which used to occur when chaining science between labs, but there still remain two situations in which fractional science pack loss can occur. First, it can happen when the game drops below 60 UPS, but more importantly, second, it can happen when your power plant cannot supply your full basis power demand during the research process, which causes all entities, including the labs, to receive less than 100% of their power need. Now, for any other science pack, it doesn't even matter anymore at this point, but for space science, which is produced in batches of exactly 1000, with technologies costing exact multiples of 1000, this can be a major problem still. Because if a rounding error occurs, your space stack will be stuck at 99.99999% researched, and you will be missing one game tick of research to complete a tech which rightfully should have been completed. Imagine having to build another entire rocket with satellite just to research one tick of missing science. I propose the solution for this problem to be of the quick fix type. If a tag is detected to be one tick away from completion when science packs run out, just give the player the benefit of the doubt and add the one tick for free and complete the technology despite the rounding error. By the way, the same problem happens with the bonus production calculation of individual assemblers, which often stop one tick before giving the bonus, despite having the correct number of ingredients. Anyway, as it turns out, in this game I'm the idiot, as I simply misremembered which level of productivity module I had in my labs, and I didn't bother to check. So after all that overconfident know-it-all talk of only having to do this once, so why even automate it, hehehe, I sure do look silly. Anyway, meanwhile we managed to cobble together another rocket in a similar but much more embarrassing way. And this time we did it. The technology completes. Our maximum follower robot count has finally increased to 100. We can finally reap the rewards and go get this incredibly convoluted achievement. If we don't screw up the 100 robot deployment at least. We did it. 100 combat robots are following us. Well, that feels... Wait, that was all? After all that hard work? Well, that was short-lived. Well, finally we can move on to the big one. And then there were only two. The easiest achievement in the game And the orders of magnitude out of sync with the rest 20 million green chip production achievement. Since we built our first 4 full belts of green chips production facility 4.5 hours ago, it has produced 1.8 million green chips. It sounds like we could just go AFK for 40 to 50 hours and win, but really we cannot. Not only do these giant mines simply do not contain enough ore to even get close to 20 million green chips, we also would get overrun by expanding and eventually attacking BITERS. We still have quite a way to go to fully secure our borders, not to mention trying to keep them secure while we set up the rest of the green chip infrastructure, all of which will be located in far less pollution ideal locations on the map. Despite using efficiency modules to their maximum ability, the sheer scale of this project is just too grand to not stink up the entire planet. Next time! So yeah, we have still got a lot of stinking, polluting factory infrastructure to build. And somehow I'm still counting on not triggering pollution-based biter attacks, eh? How do you imagine that's gonna work out? In fact, even without polluting the biters, they already start to get some damage in on the turrets. Oh man. Well, at least the anti-biter expansion wall is still doing its job. Eventually, we will need to wall off the unregulated southern border too, but I reckon we may be able to first do some building. Instead of using roboports like a normal person, I intend to do all building from my 8 personal roboports. Wait, what are you doing? You cannot possibly power that many roboports from your armor, dude. Yet here we stand, literally under the original green chip build. And we are ready to build its identical twin with 400 robots powered right from our armor. Whoa, what a sight. Well, so far so good, but look at my battery level dropping. Will the bots really be able to finish this giant build before power runs out? Well, it appears we just barely made it. The 1 gigajoule battery storage is fully emptied out, but we have a hidden additional 560 megajoules of battery. Each of these 16 roboports has a 35 megajoule internal buffer. Anyway, between these giant builds I can quickly recharge everything with these 4 fusion reactors, providing 3 megawatts of power. By the time I have collected the next load of building materials, the whole 1.56 gigajoule of power storage will be available again for the next giant build. Nice! Hey, have you seen Spider-Man lately? No? Me neither. I wonder where he is. Anyway, who's laying all those belts? The real friends are the Spider-Mans along the way, or something. But what are all those belts supposed to bring? That's right, all the ore for this giant furnace station. Speaking of stations, shouldn't you use trains instead of this massive belt array like a normal person? Well, probably, but can building trains look as cool as this? Heh, I didn't think so. And it's nighttime again. When will you finally learn to film when we can actually see something, eh? I know. But this time it's on purpose, so we can see the furnaces light up the night with their beautiful glow. I even timed it so that the belts below are filling up right as the sun comes up. Cinematic! Wow, he even prepared connecting up the furnace area to the green chip assembly area by a simple Ctrl-Z action. This guy must be a professional. Well, the shocking truth is I will become a professional soon, by definition. After 8 years of delivering impeccable work, my minimum wage day job contract is not getting renewed, as the company is moving labor to a cheaper country. And I have decided that instead of looking for a new job, I'm going to go all in on this Factorio video production thing. So, if the idea of joining my Patreon has already crossed your mind once or twice, there is no better time to bite the bullet than now. Please only consider it if you have the disposable income and stability to do so, and for those of you who don't, no worries. I will keep making videos anyway, and you can still help the channel grow by doing the old like and subscribe thing, ring that bell, and especially share these videos with your friends. Okay, that was all. Let's see how the BITERS are reacting to us just doubling our green chip production rate. Eight full red belts of green chips, baby. That's 240 green chips per second, which is over 14,000 per minute. More than 800,000 per hour, which means, yeah, we still need over 20 hours of production still. Even without taking into account that the ore patches will decline over time. Speaking about ore patches, our new ore patches are situated a whole lot less ideally, and our dirty miners' pollution is stinking up the bare, unforested desert, where it will soon start spreading to the overseas BITERS. Oh man! On the positive side, thanks to using efficiency modules in basically everything, our power draw is still less than half of our nuclear reactor's capacity. We may be able to finish the entire playthrough on this reactor alone. Anyway, the pollution is now almost reaching the BITERS, and our anti-BITER expansion wall is not suited to deal with heavy pollution-based attacks. And at the same time, the free radical southern BITERS are making a determined march up north, reclaiming terrain at an alarming rate. We should really go do something about it now, before it's too late. So naturally, we stick our head in the sand to any potential BITER problems and calmly, or perhaps ignorantly, start building the third and fourth block of the green chip assembly area, expanding the green chip assembly area to its final size of a full 16 red bells worth of green chip production. And even though we are currently still only feeding half of that, as we haven't built any of the miners, furnaces or transportation yet for the third and fourth block, as of this moment, after a whopping 43 hours of our factory's pollution being completely unnoticed by the surrounding biters, we have finally started to pollute the biters again. Pollution absorption by the biters starts off ever so slowly, but as the dense pollution cloud from our production center is slowly bulging outwards, the pollution cloud will continue to grow and drop pollution on the biter bases ever faster, as inevitable as a slow-moving tsunami of rotten air. But at least for a while, the biter expansion group size will still outnumber any pollution triggered biter attack group. But will it last like that until we can reach 20 million green chips? We will have to wait and see. Unfazed and untroubled by negative thoughts such as biter attacks, our hero steams on forward, building new mines and a new furnace area for the third green chip assembly block. And thus completing 75% of our intended green chip production goal. Nice, I guess. Well, at least we chose to mine from some ore patches located in previously pristine nature areas. Our projected mining locations for the fourth and final block are located in the southwest corner. But before we can build those, we really need to keep these biter expansions in check. Because if the pollution doesn't expand out to the biters will expand into the pollution cloud themselves. And they will use it as a justification to start a war on our friendly green chip producing megabase. And what a production has been going down already. We are sitting on a whopping 250 steel chests of green chips already just in the first block. That's 2.5 million green chips stored right here. Okay, so we are still ignoring the pollution problem, hoping that it will just work out, you know. But at least we are going to tackle the biter expansion problem. Instead of using the expansion chunk visualization, which is a bit cheaty, we can just re-explore the terrain in a zigzaggy-like pattern to flush out all the hidden biter expansions. And there will be a fair few of those for sure. Nice. It is kinda cool being able to just obliterate these small biter expansions just from the map view. Let's switch on the expansion chunks again for some more circle squandering satisfaction. But meanwhile, how is it going with the ignored pollution problem? Well, against all odds, somehow it does seem to be working out by itself. The BITERS pollution absorption rate is going up, but at a very slow rate indeed. It's been a full hour since we started polluting them, and they haven't even absorbed enough pollution to send even a single behemoth biter our way. Meanwhile, Spider-Ben went a little overboard in pushing back the biters, clearing them out all the way to our planned southern wall and then some. Well, at least that will give me some extra time to set up the fourth and final blocks of green chips before I need to complete the full wall. And so it happens. We mirrored the giant furnace block for the third area and connected to the fourth block. And soon we have 16 belts of green chips rolling down the belts straight into the 2000 chests. But as you may notice, we aren't really producing 16 belts. Not only because not all of the input plate belts are full anymore, but also because I've connected the wrong belts to the chests and we are collecting iron instead of green chips. Whoops. Anyway, after a quick fix, we properly connect the iron belts and the last 4 belts of green chips start flowing into the chests. While we are facing production problems as we cannot keep the input belts saturated anymore with the dwindling existing ore mines, we will ignore that for now. The bulk of the production facility is working, and we're losing less than 3k green chips per minute from this facility's maximum production capacity of 28.8k green chips per minute. We have some much more pressing issues to deal with before worrying about fully compressed belts of ore. Like checking out the cool stats on these gun turrets on our busiest border crossing, I guess. Well, perhaps they could use some reinforcement just to be sure, I guess. Obviously, another high urgency issue to worry about is the unbalance in the green chip distribution among the 4 blocks. Our first block, which has been up the longest by far, is not far from being fully filled, and the second block is over halfway of being halfway full. But one does not simply dispose of millions of green chips easily. I mean, we have all occasionally put our pistols of shame in a wooden chest and machine gunned it out of existence, but this is quite a different scale. Fortunately, we now also have quite a different scale of destructive capabilities. Spider-Man, start the demonstration please. Aye aye sir. Bots, let's stop filling those chests. Roboports, disengage. Alright, area is clear. Destruction, engage. Okay, now we just press Ctrl Z like nothing ever happened. Engage the roboports. And nobody will ever know of the great green chip spilling that happened here. Alright, so let's do that one more time, eh? With the deconstruction planner set to deconstruct everything except red belts and steel chests, we easily pick up the blue inserters and steel power poles to be reutilized later. Then we precisely aim for the correct line of chests, keeping in mind the explosion area of the rockets. Then we press Ctrl Z to undo our last build action, which was the aforementioned use of our deconstruction planner, and re-enable the roboport to put back the blue inserters and power lines in its place. The only casualties are the 1000 steel chests filled with green chips and a handful of red bells sacrificed for the sake of a speedy video demonstration. But with that we should have cleared out all the chest space we need to finish this quest for 20 million green chips. Anyway, I really doubted it would be necessary to make a whopping 20,000 efficiency modules, but man, isn't it working out beautifully. I mean, just look at the map. My kingdom is almost fully saturated with pollution, utilizing the natural pollution absorption capacity of the terrain to the max, and the small remaining portion of pollution which is spreading onto the biters still is negligible. Even after polluting them for over 3 hours now, the tiny fraction of pollution which reaches the biters is only enough for them to send a few biters per hour our way. Or in other words, pollution-based biter attacks are still 2 full orders of magnitude smaller than the amount of biters sent in the natural expansion attempts of up to 20 biters at a time. Somehow we have struck the exact optimal balance between production and pollution. Nice! Now we are still less than halfway to the 20 million green chip mark, and the pollution cloud is still expanding, so I won't say pollution cannot escalate out of control anymore, but I think things are looking good. With the full production facility built, we ignore the less than full belts and finally get to work on completing the full wall. It will take a good while for the ammo to travel all the way down the belts to supply the last turrets, but I bet the belt can outspeed the enemy expansion rate. They will have to make several steps north before they are able to attempt to cross our wall. And not much later, we lay down the celebratory final piece of our wall. And for the first time this playthrough, our base is fully walled off from the biters. Nice! And a quick look back at the base shows us that all 4 blocks are now filling up the chests evenly, which means we don't need to worry about chest capacity at all anymore. And at the 53-hour mark, we have finally reached 10 million green chips. We are halfway there, but on all 4 blocks the input belts are dwindling severely now, and green chip production is now 6,000 per minute under our ideal production of nearly 29,000 per minute. And production will continue to fall over time as more and more miners run out. Now there's 2 ways to fix this, and we're gonna do both. Obviously we can build more helper mines, adding to our ore production and adding more pollution, but there's also a second option. Researching more levels of mining productivity, which will increase ore production on all existing miners at no power cost or pollution cost at all. Given that we seem to have reached a delicate pollution equilibrium, the second option definitely sounds like the option to pursue first. The first stack costs a whopping 2500 of each science pack except military science, so we limit each science chest accordingly. Anyway, now all of the required science packs for mining productivity 4 will be produced and stocked up in those chests, while we work on the single science pack that isn't automated, because we needed to make those only once. Yeah. After retrieving all remaining space science packs from the labs, I still have over 600 space science packs remaining. That means that despite the lab's productivity bonus, we will need another full 2 rocket launches to produce another 2000 science packs. But hey, at least we cannot screw up the productivity calculations this time. So here we go again, another 2 rockets worth of rocket control unit ingredients. And we already have the fully automated rocket fuel and low density structures sitting in chests. But while we wait for the RCU, let's do go out and build some helper mines. As more and more miners run out, the total pollution output shrinks accordingly, so hopefully we aren't adding that much pollution by installing a few helper mines. And as the first copper helper mine is installed, we sideload it onto the main copper belts. And as the ore travels through this gigantic splitter construction, we can see the white lines representing gaps between individual ore pieces disappear completely on the main ore belt. Mission success! And after the second helper mine is completed, the full top half of our production facility has access to fully saturated ore belts. Or so it seems. Anyway, after hooking up a helper mine to each of our 4 blocks, the result is... well, we jumped from 22k to 27k per minute. Nice, but we are still shy of the full 28.8k because, of course, This is Factorio. Once you solve one bottleneck, it will just show you the next one. And fixing the weak copper ore belts actually just revealed that the supposedly full iron ore belts actually aren't actually fully full, now that the copper ore belts are fully compressed. Oh well. Anyway, before installing additional helper mines, we shall first focus on improving our existing ones. Who knows, that may just fix the problem all by itself. So, after we bring over the rocket control units to complete the ingredients for the 2 rocket launches, we prepare yet another batch of solar panels and accumulators in our OG assembly area. Not before long we can make the 2 satellites for the launches, but indeed, Spidertron carries supplies for 4 more satellites. That must mean we are planning on getting 2 more levels of mining productivity, bumping the production bonus up from 30 to 50%. That should be a great help. Not before long it is time for the first launch, generating 1000 space science packs. And while the second rocket is under construction, Spider-Man works on completing the 4 satellites we need for the final level of mining productivity. And soon enough, it's time for the second launch. Which gives us enough science packs to start researching the first level. And while dividing all available space signs into 30 equal stacks again for the 3rd time this playthrough, I really wish I had built 32 labs instead of 30. Or, you know, built a belt like a normal person. Anyway, a bunch of awkward stacking later and we're on the way towards researching mining productivity 4. Oh yeah! Now we just gotta produce 4 more rockets. Again. So again, 16,000 red chips and 16,000 green chips will become 3200 speed modules in our OG crafting area. Again. And once those are done, we can start making the 2880 rocket control units we need for the 4 launches. Again. Another 6000 red and green chips will become 1200 productivity modules. Again. No wait, not again, this is new. What are those for then? Oh, they are going to become 300 Mark II productivity modules. And eventually even 60 Mark III productivity modules. But why do we need... yeah, they are for the labs. I ain't hitting my head on the same stone thrice. In order to research 5000 science packs worth of space science with only 4000 space science packs on hand, we need a 20% productivity bonus in the labs instead of the 12% we have now. That will save us a full rocket launch. Not so bad if we just ignore the fact that these 60 Mark III productivity modules together cost twice as much as a rocket launch. Oh well, at least they're in there now. Should we come up to even more unexpected research projects, right? Meanwhile, mining productivity 4 finishes and we can immediately see a sharp incline on the copper and iron ore production graph, which will, after a small delay, lead to a green chip production increase as well. And while we wait for the 4 rockets to complete, we hook up a tiny iron mine to support the big one. Which solves this miner's throughput problems. But we indeed do see the effects of the 2 helper miners built in this pollution-saturated area. As the terrain is already fully saturated, all of the extra pollution will go straight into biter attacks, as this sharp bend upwards in this graph clearly shows. Despite that, pollution-based attacks should still be a single order of magnitude smaller than the expansion-based ones. I still don't foresee any real biter problems on the horizon. Well, the rocket control units are all done, so it is time to launch the last 4 rockets and grab that final mining productivity technology. Let's enjoy this last launch of the series on camera. Meanwhile, we tirelessly hustle to connect our helper mines to our production facility. With or without Spider-Man. And this giant new copper mine located in this pristine northeastern jungle should solve the last ore bottleneck we have. Let's see the side-loading belt compression technique in action. And it is done. We check around with the gaps tool to check for any uncompressed belts. But there are none. We are finally and truly producing a full 16 red belts worth of green chips. A production total of 28.8k per minute or over 1.7 million per hour. And with 15 million chips produced already, we should reach the 20 million achievement in less than 3 hours. Which means we are looking at a sub 60 hour finish, and the upcoming completion of Mining Productivity 5 will compensate for any miners running out in this time frame. I think we are done here. In these 3 hours, there's nothing of significance we can do to finish the achievement noticeably faster. I think it is finally time. Time to relax. Come on, Spider-Man. I will take you someplace nice. Well-deserved drink here on the beautiful Biter beach. While our fully automated base finishes all the remaining work by itself, we can finally sit down and relax. After all this hard work, I can finally see the soothing light at the end of the tunnel. And once the achievement comes in, we know that we have achieved all that there is to achieve. Wait, what was that? Huh, must have been the wind. But I cannot get rid of this nagging feeling that I forgot something. I've been working on this green chip thing for so long, but I don't really think there's anything else which needs to be done, is there? Nah, I think we're all done here. It's been a long one, but we have finally completed all achievements.